it over here. You can't move this. You ain't getting in. I have been researching the history of the Navesink Military Reservation from 1942 to 1950, and the history of the Highlands Air Force Station and the 646 Aircraft Control and Warning Squadron from 1948 to 1966, and the history of the Highlands Army Air Defense Site from 1966 to 1974. My name is Cory Newman. I was a former resident of the Highlands from when I was about 2 years old to 1995, when I joined the U.S. Navy. And I served in the U.S. Navy from 1995 to 2003 on board the USS Mount Hood, AE-29, and the USS Seattle, AE-3. Since then, I've gotten out of the military, and now I am currently a student at Raritan Valley Community College. We are looking at a service entrance to the World War II Navesink Military Reservation on Portland Road. And what we have here is one of the gates here that's been abandoned, that was in use from 1942 to 1950. After 1950, the road was abandoned, and this gate and this road led up to the Battery 219 and Battery Lewis in the Navesink Military Reservation. So this is a secondary entrance to the main entrance at the top of Portland Road. And so the history of the road goes back to the 1800s of the Hartshorns, when this road led from part of the Hartshorne Lane and into Minturn Lane into this road, and it led to what is now Portland Road by Windmere Condos. The barbed wire on these fence posts was actually 6 strands, and 3 strands on the top is what they had. It was actually not really that secure, but they didn't expect people to come in through the woods. This is the gate shack platform for the Portland Road service entrance to the Navesink Military Reservation. This is where the gate shack would have been, and they would have been checking IDs to get into the base here. It's really buried here. This tree grew up on top of the pavement of the Navesink Military Road, Portland Road service entrance. And as you can see by the roots here, that this is all pavement here, and that the roots couldn't dig down into the paved roadbed here. This is the foundation to the gate guard shack for the guards who manned the gate guard at the Portland Road Navesink Military Reservation service entrance. This would have been a one-story wooden structure built in 1942, and it was torn down in 1950. We are looking at the edge of Portland Road, just before the jackknife. They're looking at the front driveway to the Adair house on Portland Road. Now, beyond the gate here was a World War I 12-inch mortar battery of 4 mortars that they had brought up from Sandy Hook in 1917. This here is one of the positions of the World War I mortar battery, the Navesink mortar battery from 1917 to 1920. There were 4 of these 12-inch 1890 mortar batteries that were placed here and along this way up to the ridge that were built to protect Sandy Hook in case Sandy Hook was invaded by the Germans during World War I. You would have had 1, 2, 3, and 4. This used to be a water main structure. And this was the shutoff valve for the Adair house, and probably built in the early 1960s. Now we're going up the trail. I believe, based on the architecture, that since they filled in this side of the hill, there may have been a magazine either built into the hill or just beyond these concrete structures here. There was probably more along this ridge line here of these concrete structures built during World War I. What we have here is the Adair house, what is commonly known as the Adair house. The history of the building goes back probably to the 1860s or 1870s. First as a weather station, shore watch weather station back in the 1870s. And by the 1890s, the building was bought up by the Western Union Company, telegraph company, and was then after the 1920s when Western Union got out of Highlands in the 1920s, 1930s. Was given over to the Trask family, Julia Hartshorne Trask, and they rented the building out to the Adair family. What we have here is a generator building, 1 kilowatt generator building built in 1942 for the SCR 582 radar that was on top of these 2 observation posts right over this way here. And it was later, it was not torn down by the Army, and it was later used by the Adairs as storage. This, I believe, was an observation post for Battery Lewis as part of their fire control ship finding direction. All this trees and that in the front would have been cleared, so they would have had a clear view of the ocean and any ships on the horizon. This would have been a vent for the observation post. Here. This one here on top. Right? And there's one here. And one here. These are the support posts for the SCR 582 radar. Cool. This is the cable vent for the SCR 582 on top of the fire control observation stand, and on top of this concrete bunker, approximately 25 feet up, would have been the SCR 582 radar, which had a range of approximately 25 miles and was the prime radar for the Battery 219, the 6-inch guns over at the Navesink Military Reservation. What we have here is the World War II fire control bunker for Battery 219 and Battery Lewis here on the Adair property. This is the original 1942 glass and the shield for the fire control bunker here. So in case they were invaded and they actually had troops coming up this hill, the troops in here could have put this shield on, so machine gun fire wouldn't have taken them out. So this is the one for Battery Lewis. This is the fire control bunker for Battery Lewis on the Adair property. And what the Adairs did here was they reused the bunker as storage. That's all the Adair's furniture. What we have here is a sign showing two pictures of the Highlands Air Force Station and the Highlands Army Air Defense Site, taken in the 1980s by the Monmouth County Park System, showing the buildings and the gun emplacements for Battery Lewis here and some of the history. The park system just put this sign up about 2 years ago. Okay, on this property, this small patch of pavement right here next to the North Gun entrance to Battery Lewis, from 1956 to 1963 was a small building that housed the communications center for the Texas Tower number 4 that was in operation from 1958 to 1961 off the 100 miles off the coast of Barnegat, and was lost at sea on January 15th, 1961. The communication system, the Texas Tower communicated with land through the Highlands Air Force Station in a building that stood right here. And the communication was called the troposcatter system, which they bounced the communication signal off the troposcatter portion of the atmosphere, and it came back down to antenna array on top of Battery Lewis. It was called the ANFRC 56 Troposcatter Communications Network. This is the front, and what we just looked at was the back of Battery Lewis. This is where they would have had the 16-inch guns in operation from 1943 to 1948, when they took the guns out in November 1948, I believe it was. Over here, this is the entrance to the Highlands Air Force Station Fire Department, built in 1961, in December 1961. Yeah, this is where the fire department was. Yes, this is the front of Battery Lewis, and this is the sign that the Hartshorne Woods Park put up in front of the new, they're redoing the gun shield for the North Gun, or gun number 2, and they would have had a 16-inch gun in here, and they're redoing the shield completely. The park system is spending $200,000 to redo this shield, and later they're going to possibly open up Battery Lewis as a possible museum. Okay, we're looking at the access road on the far side, of the south side of Battery Lewis, and then this would have been gun emplacement number 1, the south gun. And then we would have had next to that, in 1950, the Air Force moved in and built the two-story officers' quarters, bachelor's officers' quarters, and then another two-story barracks, and then a supply building, and then right next to the North Gun, we would have had the squadron headquarters for the 646 Aircraft Control and Warning Squadron by the North Gun here. And then we would have had, looking over this way, you would have seen the motor pool, and then you would have seen the boiler building, and then more barracks, and the chow hall and commissary building, and more barracks would have been down here. Built all in 1950-51 time frame. This would have been the south gun, or gun emplacement number 1. And what the Army did, the Coast Defense did, was they brought the shells and the magazines from the central hallway, carried them on an overhead rail to the gun emplacement here, and would have brought the shells right up to the rear of the gun and fired them. They had a 16-inch shell, was 2,200 pounds, and it took 6 bags of powder to launch the shell 25 miles. They only fired these guns once on December 29th, 1943, when they fully inspected them and test fired them. They were never fired in anger. When they test fired the guns, 5 rounds out of each gun, the north gun and the south gun here, the blast broke every window within a 1-mile radius of these guns. All the way out to Seabright, all the windows were either cracked or broken when they fired these guns. 5 rounds out of each gun. This is your central hallway here, and you had on each side a shell and powder room. So you had 2 shell rooms and 2 powder rooms in here, as well as a generator room in here. This would have been where the gunners for the 60-inch gun would have had their rooms for the ramrods and their cleaning equipment to clean out the guns after they fired them in here. So this would have been like a maintenance room for Battery Lewis here. And the stop sign was put up in 1950 by the Air Force. These are not underground tunnels. This is the main passageway to Battery Lewis. It is a common myth that these are actually underground tunnels because of the earthen beam berm on the top of Battery Lewis, that these are actually underground. They're not. They're actually at ground level. This gun position here was stationary. And the anchors on the wall were actually used for the emplacement and deplacement of the gun. They would have had wires coming in here, as well as on top of the ceiling here, where these little U's coming out of the ceiling would have been used to lift the gun up and put it on its carriage. These are Mark III naval guns that were built in 1942, specifically for the coast defense of the United States, specifically for this battery. This is the phone box. This is where the phones would have been for the firing of the guns. This is where the phone jack would have been. Right here at the edge of south entrance of Battery Lewis, in 1961, you had the dispensary building or medical clinic. In 1958-59 time frame, the Air Force, the 646 Aircraft Control and Warning Squadron, built a gymnasium, a multi-purpose gymnasium with a stage and a full basketball court in this building. The building was torn down in 1995. What we have here is a central entrance to Battery Lewis right here. And beyond this gate would have been a generator building as well as a plotting room for Battery Lewis. And the concrete you see here leading out is a cableway leading to the plotting room and switchboard bunker, which we're about to go see. On the other side of the parking lot here was the administrative building. There were actually 3 of them. One was built in 1942, and another one was built in 1950, and the last one was built in 1960. And it was the administration building for the Navesink Military Reservation. What we have here are property markers built probably in 1950s, I believe, or 1960s. And the road behind me here was actually leased. Was half an acre all the way to the operations hill to two other monuments like this on this road here. And this road was leased by the Air Force and later the Army from around 1950 to 1974. The actual physical road was not owned by the Air Force or the Army. What we have here is a road that the Air Force built in 1955, 54, 55 time frame to a communications building right here. that they had built between the main barracks area and the operations hill for the Highlands Air Force Station. What we're looking at here is the original Hartshorne Wigwam Road. This leads now down to the plotting room, the World War II plotting and switchboard bunker. And during the Hartshorne time in the 1700s, this road would have gone from Hartshorne Lane all the way up through to Portland Road. All right, what we have here is the kennels for the Highlands Air Force Station's 3 dogs that they had. They had 3 German Shepherds from December 1956 or December 1955 through to I believe mid-1960. They had 3 German Shepherds here, and on these concrete platforms were the actual kennels here. They would have had a dog behind this gate. This would have been the front gate to the dog kennel. Now the history of this bunker is from, they built this bunker for about $500,000 in 1943 for Battery Lewis, and it has, I believe, like 5 foot, 3 or 5 foot thick walls and covered by dirt. And this was the plotting room and switchboard bunker. They had an M1 gun data computer in here from 1943 through 1946. And when they scrapped the guns, they also scrapped one of the first fire control computers for the 16-inch guns, the M1 gun data computer. When the Highlands Air Force Station, when the 646 Aircraft Control and Warning Squadron took over the Navesink Military Reservation in 1950, the Air Force nominated this bunker as the alternate command post for the air defense in New York City. So in case the command post at Roslyn Air Force Station in Roslyn, New York got taken out by a nuclear blast, or the communications network between the various radar stations, the Air Force would have had this this bunker, as a fallback position between 1950 to 1955, when it was eclipsed by the Mud Pond Air Force Station out in Benton, Pennsylvania.